Hey guys, welcome back. So today we'll be reviewing positive and negative numbers. Remember that your positive numbers are used to describe quantities that are greater than zero, and then your negative numbers are used to describe quantities that are less than zero. And remember, when we talk about integers, always remember that integers are going to be the number zero. It's going to be all of your positive numbers, and it's also going to be all of your negative numbers. And these here are going to be your integers, and it's going to go all the way down on both sides. And all integers can be placed on a number line. So these are going to be your positive integers here. Then you have your negative integers here, and then you have zero. And we know that zero is neither going to be positive or negative. So as you move closer to the right, you will notice that your numbers are going to increase and the numbers are going to continue to get larger and larger. And as you move to the left, your numbers are going to decrease and your numbers are going to get smaller and smaller as they move to the left. So let's say you had the number negative 10. We know the negative 10 is going to be a negative number. And then the opposite of that is going to be a positive 10. Let's say you had negative 100,000. Negative 100,000 is also going to be a negative number. And the opposite of negative 100,000 is going to be a positive 100,000. And let's say this negative 100,000 was debt. So let's say that you had $100,000 in debt. That is going to be negative. But let's say you had $100,000 in savings. This is going to be positive. Remember that debt is money that you owe, and then savings is money that is yours. Let's say that you are debiting from your bank account, so you are withdrawing from your bank account. That is going to be a negative number. Or if you are crediting to your bank account, that is going to be a positive number. A negative electric charge, of course, is going to be a negative number. And then a positive electric charge is going to be a positive number. So let's say it is freezing outside and the temperatures are below zero. If the temperatures are below zero, that means that your temperatures are going to be in the negative. So here is going to be an example of temperatures below zero. And if the temperature is above zero, that means that you are going to have a positive number. But below zero means that you're going to have a negative number. What about below sea level? If it's below sea level, that means you are going to have a negative number. But if it's above sea level, that means you are going to have a positive number. So let's say we were comparing our positive and negative numbers. So let's say, for an example, if we have -4 and -8, if you were to compare these two numbers, which number is greater? So think about -4 and -8 and think about the number line. Which number is greater? And based on this example here, -4 is greater than -8. When you're looking at two negative numbers, the number that is closest to the number 0 is going to always be greater. So I'll say it again. When you are comparing two negative numbers, the number that is closest to 0 is always going to be greater. Let's say you were comparing 5 and -10. If you are comparing a positive number and a negative number, always remember that the positive number will always be greater than the negative number. So I'll say it again. If you're comparing positive and negative, your positive number will always be greater than your negative. So in this example here, 5 is greater than -10. -5 and the number 2, which number is greater? If you compare -5 and 2, 2 is going to be greater because your positive number is always going to be greater than your negative number. What if you have -3 and -3? In this example here, you will see that -3 equals -3. So your answer here is going to be your equal sign. What about 5 and -7? Which number here is greater? you will see that 5 is greater than -7. Remember, your positive number is always greater than your negative number. What about -2 and -9? If you compare two negatives, always remember the number closest to 0 is going to be the largest number. So if you're comparing -2 and -9, you will see that -2 is closest to 0, so -2 is greater than -9. What about -10 and the number 0? Which number is greater between -10 and 0? And you will see that 0 is greater than -10. So you will read this as -10 is less than 0, or you may read it as 0 is greater than -10. And for this example here, when you are comparing 0 and a negative number, 0 is always going to be greater than a negative number. -17 and -13, which number here is larger when you're comparing these two? And the largest number here is going to be -13. Remember, -13 is closer to 0 than -17. What about 5 and the number 0? Which number here is larger? The largest number here, of course, is going to be my +5. What about 0 and -6? Which number here is larger? The largest number here is going to be 0. 0 is greater than -6. -8 and a +3, which number is larger? The largest number here is going to be a +3, because positive numbers will always be greater than negative numbers. -100 and the number 9, which number is greater? The larger number here is going to be 9. What about -15 and -14? Which number here is larger? The larger number here is going to be -14. Keep in mind that -14 is closer to 0 than -15. What about -25 and -30? Which number here is larger? The larger number here is going to be -25. All right, so that is all for today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.